The Lucifer that God created is the same Lucifer we hear about today, a being whose legacy has sparked both reverence and fear across millennia. His name, derived from Latin roots meaning light bringer, has been reinterpreted countless times, often misunderstood, yet always powerful. From ancient traditions to modern interpretations, Lucifer has become a symbol of knowledge, rebellion, and enlightenment. Oh man, this is great. I'm going to share this online because this is something people need to understand. God bless you, brother, because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach. Lucifer is light. But that's not the whole story, and it's certainly not what Jesus said. In Matthew 7 verses 22 to 23, Jesus warned of those who would claim to have done great deeds in his name, saying, "Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers." Jesus was emphasizing that deeds without true faith and understanding do not lead to salvation. Many misunderstand this, just as many misunderstand the true nature of Lucifer. It's hard to believe, isn't it? Especially if you consider yourself a Christian and are unaware of these deeper teachings. But yes, I am a Christian too. I strive to be pure and virtuous. You're pure and virtuous? So, are you saying you're perfect without Jesus? No, that's not what I mean. So, tell me then, who is Jesus to you? He's my leader, the Son of God, the only worshipful master. Have you ever been called a worshipful master? No, because I've been too busy working trying to help people. What kind of work? Helping people see the truth, and yet this is what we Masons understand, that Lucifer is light. But there is more to uncover about this complex symbol. Madame Blavatsky, a Russian occultist and founder of the Theosophical Society, published a journal called Lucifer in 1889. Blavatsky's work explored the depths of philosophy, science, and religion, blending them with esoteric teachings. She was particularly fascinated with the Kabbalah, which she believed contained ancient secrets far older than Judaism or any of the Abrahamic religions. According to Blavatsky, these mystical teachings originated long before they were recorded by Jewish mystics. She traced their roots back to the Egyptians, the Chaldeans, the Aryans, and even further into the lost civilizations of Atlantis. One of the foundational texts of Jewish mysticism is the Zohar, a compilation of esoteric commentaries on the Torah. The Zohar offers an intriguing interpretation of the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis. According to this mystical text, the serpent's temptation was not simply an act of evil, but rather a revelation of divine knowledge. When the serpent encouraged Eve to eat from the tree of knowledge, it was not to cause her downfall but to elevate her consciousness. The serpent revealed that touching the fruit but not eating it would not lead to death but would instead open her eyes, making her like the Elohim, like God. In Kabbalistic thought, the forbidden fruit is often seen as a metaphor for the orgasm, which represents a powerful release of life force. If this energy is misused, it leads to a loss of vitality. However, if harnessed correctly through practices such as White Tantra, the orgasm can be separated from the physical expulsion of life force. This allows for the energy to be retained, refined, and used for spiritual purposes. This practice, common in Eastern traditions, was also known to the Knights Templar, a medieval Christian military order with ties to esoteric knowledge. The 12th century was the era of the Crusades, a time when thousands of knights from all over Europe ventured to the Holy Land. It was also a time when the legends of the Holy Grail began to spread throughout Europe. The Templars, who were deeply involved in the Crusades, believed that they were descended from ancient bloodlines that had fled into Europe after the destruction of the Temple in Jerusalem. Their mission in the Holy Land, therefore, was not only to reclaim territory but also to recover hidden esoteric doctrines, including those of the Kabbalah, that were said to be buried beneath the ruins of the Temple. The Templars were notorious for their secrecy, and they were accused of worshipping an idol known as Baphomet. This name, however, reveals its true meaning when deciphered with the Atbash cipher, an ancient Hebrew encryption technique where letters are substituted according to a specific pattern. When applied to the name Baphomet in Hebrew, it transforms into the Greek word Sophia, meaning wisdom. To the Templars, Baphomet was not a demon but a symbol of the divine feminine, representing wisdom and spiritual enlightenment. The image of Baphomet, often depicted as a goat-headed figure, has also been misunderstood. In fact, the goat is symbolic of Capricorn, the zodiac sign associated with Saturn, the ruler of time, karma, and the cycles of life. In ancient European traditions, the goat was a symbol of fertility and rebirth, appearing in celebrations such as Saturnalia, a Roman festival that later influenced Christmas traditions. Even today, the Yule goat is a common symbol in parts of Europe, representing the cycle of death and rebirth during the winter solstice. Aleister Crowley, a controversial figure in modern occultism, also reflected on the true nature of Lucifer. Crowley believed that Lucifer, rather than being an evil entity, was a symbol of personal empowerment and self-awareness. He famously stated, "The devil is the god of any people whom one personally dislikes." To Crowley, Satan was not the enemy of man but the force that granted humanity the gift of knowledge and self-awareness. Lucifer, in this sense, was not a destroyer but a liberator. The planet Venus, which was associated with Lucifer in ancient times, plays a crucial role in understanding this symbolism. Venus, known as the morning star because it appears just before dawn, was called Lucifer in Roman mythology, literally, the bringer of light. The connection between Venus and Lucifer was later adopted into Christian theology, where Lucifer became associated with the fallen angel who was cast out of heaven. This story of a being descending from the heavens parallels myths from several ancient cultures, including those of the Greeks and Babylonians. In Slavic mythology, the goddess sisters Zoria are the daughters of the sun god, and they are tasked with opening the gates for the sun each morning. This act of opening the gates to light mirrors Lucifer's role as the light bringer. The Zoria sisters are also connected to Venus, further linking the celestial and mythological roles of light bringers across different cultures. In the Christian tradition, the feminine aspect of divine wisdom is symbolized by the rose, a flower associated with both the Virgin Mary and the figure of Sophia in Gnostic thought. Albert Pike, one of the most influential Freemasons in history, interpreted Lucifer in a similar light. In his book Morals and Dogma, Pike wrote that Lucifer was the embodiment of both the Holy Ghost and Satan, a dual force of light and darkness. Pike's interpretation of Lucifer as the light-bearer reflects a broader esoteric belief that Lucifer represents divine knowledge, misunderstood by those who fear it. Manly P. Hall, another prominent Mason, expanded on this idea, stating that the true power of Lucifer lies in the mastery of living energy. According to Hall, those who understand the secrets of this energy have the potential to transcend ordinary existence and reach higher levels of spiritual enlightenment. Now, turning to the Vatican, the very name itself carries a legacy that predates Christianity. Before the Vatican became the center of the Catholic Church, the area was home to the Etruscans, an ancient civilization that once ruled central Italy. The Vatican Hill was named after the Etruscan goddess Vatican, who was associated with prophecy and the underworld. This land, long before it was associated with Christianity, was a place of divination, ritual, and communication with the dead. The Etruscans, like the Egyptians and Greeks, believed in the importance of preparing for the afterlife. Their goddess Vatican watched over the dead, ensuring that they had a smooth passage to the underworld. Ironically, the Vatican, which now condemns practices like divination, is built on land that was once a center for such activities. The name, Vatican, itself is believed to come from the Latin word vates, meaning seer or prophet, further emphasizing the connection to ancient prophecy. Throughout history, various cultures have identified physical locations on Earth as gateways to the underworld. In Hawaiian mythology, for example, the Waipio Valley is said to contain a hidden entrance to the realm of the dead. In Japan, Mount Osor, an active volcano, is considered one of the gates to the underworld. Similarly, St. Patrick's Purgatory in Ireland is a cave believed to be an entrance to the afterlife, dating back to the 5th century. These places, often associated with volcanic activity or other natural phenomena, are seen as liminal spaces where the boundaries between the living and the dead become blurred. One of the most mysterious of these locations is Hauska Castle in the Czech Republic. Built in the 13th century, the castle was constructed over what was believed to be a bottomless pit, said to be a gateway to hell. The castle's remote location, far from any strategic or natural resources, only adds to its mystique. According to local legends, strange creatures and demonic entities were said to have emerged from the pit, terrorizing nearby villagers. In an effort to contain these forces, the castle was built directly over the hole, sealing it off from the world. The fascination with gateways to other realms has persisted throughout human history. Whether it's the belief in a literal entrance to hell or a symbolic journey to the underworld, these myths reflect a deep-seated human desire to understand the mysteries of life, death, and what lies beyond. Lucifer, as both the light bringer and the fallen angel, embodies this duality. He is a symbol of humanity's eternal quest for knowledge, enlightenment, and spiritual liberation, both a guide and a warning, depending on how his gifts are understood. In this light, Lucifer is not simply the personification of evil as often depicted in popular culture, but a complex figure that challenges us to confront our own limitations and desires for transcendence. Whether through the practices of esoteric societies like the Freemasons, the myths of ancient cultures, or the teachings of modern occultists, Lucifer remains a powerful symbol of the human journey toward self-realization. Lucifer's association with Venus, the morning star, provides one of the earliest astronomical and mythological foundations for his symbolism. Venus, visible just before dawn, was seen by many ancient cultures as the harbinger of light, representing a transitional force between darkness and daylight. In Roman mythology, Lucifer literally translates to light bringer, and was seen as a divine herald. The concept of a celestial body bringing light before the sun itself rises holds deep symbolic meaning across many traditions. The transition from darkness to light can be understood as the human journey from ignorance to knowledge, or from spiritual blindness to enlightenment. Yet, in Christian tradition, Lucifer's fall from heaven has its roots in a passage from Isaiah 14 verse 12, which references the morning star being cast down for aspiring to be like the Most High. Over time, this metaphor was interpreted as the fall of Satan, though the original text referred to the Babylonian king. This reinterpretation led to the conflation of Lucifer with the devil in Christian theology, casting him as a figure of rebellion and pride. This shift in interpretation was not universally accepted, however. In early Gnostic traditions, Lucifer was often seen not as a malevolent being, but as a force of liberation, one who offered humanity the knowledge of good and evil, thus enabling self-awareness and free will. One fascinating aspect of Lucifer's legacy is how he became linked with knowledge and wisdom, often in opposition to rigid dogma. In many occult traditions, including those influenced by Gnosticism and later by figures like Blavatsky and Crowley, Lucifer is not merely the antagonist of the biblical God but a symbol of spiritual enlightenment. In Gnostic belief systems, the material world was seen as a prison for the soul, and figures like Lucifer were viewed as liberators. The serpent in the Garden of Eden was not a deceiver, but a bringer of wisdom, urging humanity to awaken from ignorance. This radical reinterpretation framed Lucifer as a Promethean figure, akin to the Titan in Greek mythology who stole fire from the gods to give it to humanity, thus empowering them with knowledge and creativity. The Knights Templar, an order surrounded by myths and accusations of heresy, were accused by the medieval church of worshipping Baphomet, often equated with Satan. However, Baphomet, as discussed earlier, is more accurately interpreted through esoteric lenses as a symbol of divine wisdom and balance. The infamous image of Baphomet as a goat-headed figure, widely recognized today, was created by the 19th century French occultist Eliphas Lévi. In his writings, Lévi described Baphomet as a symbol of the union of opposites, male and female, light and dark, human and divine, representing the equilibrium necessary for spiritual enlightenment. This duality is central to many esoteric philosophies, where light and darkness are seen not as moral opposites but as complementary forces in the pursuit of balance and transcendence. Similarly, the Freemasons, who have often been accused of Luciferian worship, regard Lucifer not as a being of evil but as a metaphor for knowledge and light. In Masonic tradition, the journey of the initiate is one of self-discovery, enlightenment, and the pursuit of truth. The light sought by Masons is symbolic of wisdom, the same light Lucifer is said to bear. This association between Lucifer and the search for knowledge is evident in the writings of Albert Pike, one of the most influential figures in modern Freemasonry. In his book Morals and Dogma, Pike discusses how Lucifer symbolizes the intellectual and spiritual light that Freemasons seek to understand. Beyond the symbolic realms of secret societies and mythologies, Lucifer's cultural impact has also permeated literature, art, and philosophy. One of the most profound literary explorations of Lucifer's character is John Milton's Paradise Lost. In this epic poem, Lucifer, as Satan, is portrayed not merely as the embodiment of evil but as a complex and tragic figure. His rebellion against God is driven by a desire for autonomy and self-determination, making him, in some interpretations, a symbol of human resistance to tyranny. Milton's depiction of Lucifer has influenced countless writers and thinkers, including the Romantic poets, who saw in Lucifer a symbol of individualism and defiance against oppressive authority. Another layer of Lucifer's symbolism can be found in the Hermetic and Alchemical traditions, where the process of enlightenment is often described as a transformation through fire. Just as Lucifer is the light bringer, the alchemist seeks to turn base materials into gold, symbolizing the transmutation of the soul into a higher state of being. In this sense, Lucifer's role as a figure of rebellion and enlightenment mirrors the alchemist's quest to transcend the mundane and reach a state of divine wisdom. The fire of Lucifer, like the fire of the alchemical furnace, is both destructive and creative, capable of burning away the impurities of ignorance and forging a new understanding of the universe. Further still, the influence of Lucifer can be found in modern psychology, particularly in the work of Carl Jung, who saw Lucifer not as an external force of evil, but as a representation of the human shadow. Jung's concept of the shadow refers to the parts of the psyche that are repressed or denied because they conflict with our conscious self-image. For Jung, the process of individuation, of becoming a whole, integrated person, requires acknowledging and integrating the shadow. In this context, Lucifer symbolizes the repressed aspects of the self, the parts of our psyche that must be confronted in order to achieve psychological and spiritual wholeness. In Jungian terms, Lucifer represents the necessary confrontation with the darker aspects of the self in the journey toward self-knowledge. This psychological interpretation aligns with many esoteric traditions that view Lucifer as a symbol of internal light, an inner wisdom that can only be accessed by facing the darkness within. By embracing this inner conflict, individuals can move beyond the limitations of dualistic thinking, good versus evil, light versus dark, and achieve a more nuanced, holistic understanding of themselves and the universe. Lucifer's complexity as a symbol of light, rebellion, and knowledge has made him a central figure in the development of Western esotericism. His influence can be seen in the works of mystics, philosophers, and artists who have sought to challenge conventional notions of morality, religion, and authority. Whether viewed as a fallen angel or a misunderstood light-bringer, Lucifer embodies the human desire for autonomy, knowledge, and spiritual transcendence. A figure who challenges us to question, to learn, and ultimately to awaken to the deeper mysteries of existence. Throughout history, Lucifer's symbolism has evolved far beyond his biblical portrayal as the fallen angel. In many esoteric traditions, Lucifer is not merely a figure of rebellion or pride, but a profound symbol of the pursuit of forbidden knowledge, knowledge that was often suppressed by institutional religion and societal norms. This alternative view of Lucifer casts him as a liberator of human potential, someone who challenges the status quo to offer enlightenment, wisdom, and inner freedom. To understand this interpretation, we must first explore the broader context in which knowledge has often been considered dangerous or even heretical. In ancient times, particularly during the rise of Christianity in the Roman Empire, alternative spiritual practices such as Gnosticism and Hermeticism were persecuted because they offered teachings that deviated from orthodox Christian doctrine. Gnostics, for example, saw the material world as a prison, and the God of the Old Testament as a tyrannical figure who sought to keep humanity trapped in ignorance. In this context, the serpent in the Garden of Eden, often identified with Lucifer, is viewed not as a villain, but as a being who gave humanity the gift of knowledge, allowing Adam and Eve to break free from their state of blind obedience. This narrative shift frames Lucifer as a Promethean figure. Like Prometheus in Greek mythology who defied Zeus to steal fire for mankind, Lucifer defies the divine hierarchy to bring light, both literal and metaphorical, to humanity. Prometheus' act of rebellion was a gift that enabled humans to harness the power of fire, a symbol of both technology and intellectual illumination. Similarly, Lucifer's gift is the spark of self-awareness, an awakening from the limitations imposed by divine and worldly authority. Both figures, however, are punished for their defiance. Prometheus is bound to a rock for eternity, while Lucifer is cast down into hell. Yet their legacies endure as champions of human empowerment. The idea that forbidden knowledge is a path to enlightenment appears in many cultures and mystical traditions. In alchemy, the transformation of base metals into gold is a metaphor for the refinement of the soul, a process that often requires venturing into shadowy or morally ambiguous realms of experience. Lucifer, in this sense, represents the alchemical fire that burns away impurities, revealing the hidden truths of existence. To access this deeper wisdom, one must be willing to question societal norms and even spiritual authority, much like Lucifer did in his rebellion. The Hermetic tradition, which flourished during the Renaissance, is another key player in the re-evaluation of Lucifer as a symbol of light and knowledge. Hermeticism teaches that the universe is a divine creation governed by unseen laws, and that through spiritual practice, individuals can ascend to higher planes of understanding. However, this path of ascension requires breaking free from the chains of ignorance, a theme that echoes the Luciferian metaphor of bringing light to darkness. In this tradition, the light that Lucifer offers is not literal illumination, but rather the inner light of gnosis or esoteric knowledge, which empowers the seeker to perceive the true nature of reality. Lucifer's role as a symbol of intellectual and spiritual liberation also resonated with the Enlightenment thinkers of the 18th century. Figures like Voltaire and Rousseau, who challenged the authority of the Catholic Church and championed the rights of the individual, can be seen as modern embodiments of the Luciferian archetype. The Enlightenment itself was often framed as a period of awakening or illumination, where human reason and scientific inquiry were elevated over blind faith. This movement fundamentally redefined the relationship between humans and the divine, placing emphasis on autonomy, self-determination, and the power of the mind to seek out truth, ideas that mirror the Luciferian ideal of questioning authority in pursuit of knowledge. Further expanding on this, we can examine how Lucifer became a central figure in Romantic literature. In works such as John Milton's Paradise Lost, Lucifer's fall is portrayed not simply as an act of rebellion, but as a tragic quest for self-determination. Milton's depiction of Lucifer is often seen as the first nuanced representation of this figure, emphasizing his complexity, his defiance, and even his charisma. For the Romantics, who valued individualism, passion, and the breaking of traditional boundaries, Lucifer became an almost heroic figure, someone willing to risk everything in the pursuit of freedom. Writers like William Blake and Percy Bysshe Shelley continued this tradition, portraying Lucifer as a symbol of resistance against oppressive systems, whether divine or political. Blake's famous quote, "The road of excess leads to the palace of wisdom," reflects a Luciferian worldview where transgression and exploration are necessary for personal growth and enlightenment. To Blake and other Romantic thinkers, Lucifer's fall was not a descent into evil, but a necessary step toward self-realization, a journey that mirrors the human condition. In Blake's mythology, Lucifer's quest is symbolic of the inner struggle every individual must face in order to achieve true understanding and wisdom. In the 20th century, the figure of Lucifer continued to evolve, finding resonance in both the occult revival and psychoanalytic thought. Occultists like Aleister Crowley embraced Lucifer as a symbol of self-liberation and individual will. Crowley's famous maxim, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law," encapsulates the Luciferian idea that each person must follow their own path, even if it leads them into conflict with established norms or moral expectations. Crowley, like many esoteric thinkers before him, saw Lucifer as a guide for those willing to seek out their own truth, rather than accept the limitations imposed by traditional religion. Meanwhile, Carl Jung's exploration of the shadow self offered another dimension to the Luciferian archetype. For Jung, the shadow represents the unconscious aspects of the psyche that we reject or deny, often because they conflict with our self-image or societal values. Yet, Jung believed that integrating the shadow was crucial for achieving psychological wholeness. Lucifer, as the light bringer, can be seen as a symbol of this process, confronting the darkness within in order to bring it into the light. Jung's psychological framework reinterprets the myth of Lucifer not as a story of sin and punishment, but as a necessary journey toward self-knowledge and inner balance. Even in popular culture, the Lucifer figure continues to serve as a complex symbol. In modern TV shows, books, and films, Lucifer is often portrayed as a morally ambiguous character, neither wholly evil nor entirely good, but someone who embodies the tension between free will and destiny, knowledge and ignorance, rebellion and order. This reflects society's ongoing fascination with figures who challenge authority, who question the rules, and who dare to seek truth even at great personal cost. In this broader understanding, Lucifer becomes much more than the fallen angel of Christian tradition. He represents the human drive to explore, to question, and to transcend. His light is the inner spark of creativity, curiosity, and the relentless pursuit of truth, qualities that have driven humanity's greatest achievements and most profound transformations. Whether viewed as a mythic figure, a psychological symbol, or an icon of personal empowerment, Lucifer continues to embody the eternal struggle for enlightenment in a world that often fears or suppresses it. In conclusion, Lucifer's enduring symbolism transcends the simplistic notion of evil often associated with his name. Across history, he has come to represent the pursuit of knowledge, self-awareness, and the courage to challenge established norms. Whether seen as a light bringer, a rebel, or a symbol of personal transformation, Lucifer embodies humanity's quest for enlightenment and the desire to transcend limitations, both external and internal. His complex legacy continues to inspire reflection on the delicate balance between darkness and light, ignorance and wisdom.